Welcome to the third video session on future of MSMEs. In this session, we will discuss mainly what are the rules, what is WTO, World Trade Organization, what are its rules, and how it affects the MSMEs. Affect means what are the plus and minus points. So our learning objectives will be for this session will be number one is WTO and MSME sector. Then what are the benefits to exporters and importers because of WTO? What are the areas of concern principally for MSMEs because of implementation of WTO regulations? What are the initiatives of government which they are taking or they are planning to take for rapid growth of MSMEs? And then MSME sector, some product specific issues which are based on a research by SIDBI. So let us start with WTO. What is WTO? So basis of WTO is a agreement which is called GATT. GATT means General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. It is a legal agreement between some countries whose overall purpose was to promote international trade by reducing the eliminating trade barriers like tariffs and quotas. So the countries assembled together and they executed a legal agreement that they will like to reduce the trade barriers of tariff and quota. So basic purpose of this is that efficient units should be allowed to work because it will be efficient use of resources and the barriers for importing from some other country they should be removed. So according to its preamble of GATT, its purpose was to substantial reduction of tariffs and other trade barriers and the elimination of preferences on a reciprocal and mutual advantage basis. Means reciprocal means for each other. I will not restrict your import. You will not restrict mine. So it was signed by 23 nations in Geneva in 1947, and it took effect in 1st January 1948. Subsequent discussions were going on, and then in 1995, WTO World Trade Organization was set up, which concluded in 1995 the Uruguay round of trade talks under GATT was completed and WTO was established. And the signing of the final agreement at Marrakesh is one of the most significant development of international trade. WTO is the most important development. It will have wide-ranging impact on the economies of the 160. As on date, there are 164 member countries, so it will be impacting all those economies. These countries account for more than 95% of world trade. So if these countries accept all these things, you can just assume that entire world is under WTO. What are the now basic aim? As we discussed, so two the aims can be classified into two categories. First one can be to promote more liberalized multilateral trade by curbing market distorting trade practices for goods, services, and intellectual property rights. Second can be phased removal of all non-tariff barriers, reduction in tariffs, promoting increased market access through removal of quantitative restrictions, QR बोलते हैं इसको, we call it QR, on import, and reduction of certain specified subsidies on production and export. So many countries are giving subsidies on production and export, so they should also be removed as per the basic concept of WTO, and tariff barriers should also be removed. The expected outcome of all these measures is an expansion in world trade and more rapid economic growth in trading countries as a result of improved. This is most important. Improved resource use efficiency means those resources will be used which are more efficient, and that unit which is employing those resources will continue to producing, and they will export to other countries. Other countries may export those items in which they are more efficient. So this is the basic concept of WTO. Now this new trade regime is operating in a sharply divided world. There are certain controversies, certain issues which are to be settled. So sharply divided world where all its member countries are not equal partners in terms of level of economic development and degree of dependence on foreign trade. So every country has a different degree of dependence on foreign trade, and it is at a different stage of economic development. So they cannot be just equal. So USA, European Union, and Japan together account for more than 2/3 of the world trade in goods and services. So there are sharp division between them. Why there are sharp division? They are on the issue of trade liberalization, especially between the USA and EU, because every country will like to support their own industries. So they may not like to liberalize the trade fully. Otherwise, there will be impact on their own industry. So that is the issue of the division, sharp division. There are also conflict between regional trade blocs, which are rapidly increasing numbers. Regional trade blocs is bilateral agreement are being done by some certain parties or some trade bloc in a different geographies made, which are there, as well as within the group of developing countries with similar commodity baskets of export but dissimilar cost structures. So there may be countries which produce same type of items for export, but their cost structure is different. So there will be a problem between those countries. So these conflicts are likely to increase in future as countries shift to new technologies to reduce cost. So because new technology is coming and some countries will adopt that and their cost will be reduced. So now there will be an advantage to export. So conflict will arise. So these conflicts are likely to increase in future as countries shift to new technology to reduce cost to face intense competition in global market. Fluctuations, now this is also important. Fluctuations in international commodity prices and recession in any trading country will now have far-reaching effect in a closely integrated global economy. So when trade barriers will be removed, now it will become the world will become a closely integrated global economy, and any effect on commodity prices and recession in any country, it will affect all other countries with whom it is trading. So entire global economy will be affected. This is also one of the issues. Now, WTO framework includes a many number of agreements which affect different issues in cross-border trade. Some of the agreements which are likely to affect MSMEs, these are following. Many agreements have taken place, but some agreements which will affect the MSMEs of any country are like this: agreement on textile and clothing, agreement on anti-dumping measures, agreement on subsidies and countervailing measures, agreement on safeguard measures, agreement on government procurement, agreement on import licensing procedures, agreement on technical barriers to trade, agreement on sanitary and phytosanitary measures, agreement on trade related intellectual property rights, agreement on trade related investment measures. So these are some of the agreement which will affect the MSMEs also, because these agreements will have to be followed by any member country. Now, because of WTO and MSME, there is a debate on global competitiveness. That because of the competition, how things will take place. The implementation WTO agreement, which were to come in full force from after 2004-5, but they were delayed due to successive round of talk at Doha, Singapore, Seattle, Cancun, Hong Kong, UK, etc., raises several controversies. So various talks have taken place, but issues are not sorted out. So various controversies also take place because of the different interest of the different countries. The failure of the ministerial level talks held during the last few years highlight the difficulties in achieving a consensus on key issues. Unless there is a consensus, the key issues cannot be sorted out. So because of those different interests, consensus always remains and they are to be sorted out. Though it is recognized by both developing, this para is very important if you see, though it is recognized by both developing and developed countries that promotion of free trade is desirable for their economies and for the growth of global economy. So everybody agrees that promotion of free trade is important and it is in the interest of all. The implementation aspects are more complex, but implementation is a little difficult than they were initially anticipating. In last few years, also witnessed several free trade agreements bilaterally between Singapore, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and other countries. Now, the debate with regard to post-WTO scenario centers on the following issues. So, there are certain issues on which the debate is going on, and then consensus is to be arrived at. First one is the asymmetries of the present trading system. There is a concern that WTO agreement will operate against the interest of developing countries. Developing countries are thinking that it is against our interest because developed countries have already developed and they have many plus points as compared to developing countries. The dominant share of a small number of developed countries in world trade and weak preferential treatment for developing countries will make it difficult for many of the developing countries to face global competition. So it will be a problem for the developing countries to face the competition. The pragmatic counter argument is to this view that despite inherent problems, the WTO trade regime offers both challenges and opportunities for developing countries. So if another counter argument is that because of WTO there are problems then, but then there are opportunities also. So challenges are also there and opportunities. For example, you can say that suppose you want to import something. So some efficient unit is outside in some other country, you can import at a lower cost, because if you produce the same product here, it will be costly. So you will be benefited. But challenge is that all your units which are producing certain items which are not efficient units, means in other countries they are produced at lower cost. So what you will do with your existing industries, existing employment? So both challenges also there, opportunities are there. The issue is how to convert the challenge into opportunities. So trade regime offers both challenge and opportunity for developing countries to expand trade, access advanced production and communication technology, participate in the knowledge-based revolution, uh, currently underway, and generally restructure their economies towards promoting faster economic development with a better quality of life for more people. So these are the certain challenges which are to be handled. Now, next point is that survival of the MSME sector. How WTO, under the WTO scenario, what are the impact on for survival on the MSME sector? There is growing concern that unrestricted import, because in WTO scenario there will not be restrictions, so import will be unrestricted. So unrestricted import following the removal of quantitative restrictions will lead to a situation where small industries will be unable to withstand international competition, because internationally the product can be imported at a lower price if you are not efficient, especially from low cost producers like China. China's cost is very low. So what will happen to our MSMEs? We can, if we start importing all the things at a lower cost from China. So our ministry has asked for bound tariff rate. So what will be the maximum limit of tariff rate? At 40% of manufacturing product to be retained in order to provide continued protection to MSMEs. So at least there will be restriction that maximum tariff will be at 40%, so that we can protect our MSME units. However, the fear that the small scale industry would not be able to survive global competition is misplaced. Now we are saying that it is only a fear. We can face this fear and convert the challenge into opportunity. Despite all the problems and constraints over the last 40 years of existence, the MSME sector, has registered higher growth rate than the rest of the industrial sector since 91. Data says like this. On the export front, small enterprises have recorded a 9-fold increase over the period 86 to 96. Though the higher growth rate are the result of several factors, but they point out to the flexibility of the small scale units whose smallness is their greatest advantage. So when exports are increasing, there are many factors, but one of the factors is that small scale units are very flexible in operations. So that helps them to change to adopt some other product to reduce the cost. So they become a little easier for them as compared to the large unit, which cannot immediately change the product line or other activity which can start. Third one is the role of the state in the economy and policy intervention to support MSMEs. So third issue is that what will be the role of economy, role of the state in the economy, and what will be the policy interventions to support MSMEs. On the present policy climate, the state's role is ideally seen to be minimal, to correct market distortions rather than to actively intervene in the economy. In present scenario, state role will be very minimum. It will have to correct only the market distortions and not much intervention. The policy shift has led to a call reducing subsidies and withdrawing all form of protection to small enterprises. So as per policy, the shift has to be that subsidies should be reduced, and all type of protections which are available to an industry, they should also be removed, and free trade should be allowed during the in the entire world. Whether in the when we say protection, it can be in the form of product reservation, fiscal concessions, or other measures. However, government regulations of economic activity and intervention through various supportive measures are common, even in free market economies like US. However, other countries, not only India, other US, Germany, and Japan, they are also having some type of protection. So that is an issue. Up to what extent the protection is allowed, how we can do, how we can support. The phenomenal export-driven growth of the East Asian economies in 80s and 90s, often based on this. So in 80s and 90s in East Asian countries, there were phenomenal export growth, and which was supported and was based on small and medium enterprise only. And through state intervention using a wide range of supportive policies like provision of education and skill to the workforce, high quality infrastructure initially, and later through targeted industrial policies. So that export driven growth took place because of some protections by the state. So still there is a role of the state in promoting the MSMEs in the post WTO scenario also. It is therefore certain that the role of the state in developing countries may not be reduced in future, though the focus and form of intervention may change. Supportive role will be there, but focus may change. That which type of support is to be provided. Now, on industry, domestic industry, how WTO will affect? First will be the potential threat to domestic industry through rising import of low-priced product as a result of lowered tariff barriers. So first aspect is that there is a potential threat to domestic industry because same item which we are producing is without tariff barrier can be imported at low price from the other countries. So this is a threat. How do we reduce our cost? How do we increase our product quality so that we can survive? And another one, that potential opportunity of global market opening up as a result of systematic trade liberalization. On the other hand, there is a potential opportunity in other countries. So if we are able to produce any item at a lowest rate and we become efficient, then there is a big market, global market is open to us. So threat is also there, opportunity is also there. How these two aspects will be balanced will ultimately depend on the competitiveness of each product manufactured in the country and exported. So how these two factors will be balanced is this will depend on the quality, efficiency of our industry and other related issues. Now, what are the benefits to businesses uh, under WTO scenario? Let us discuss that. As we already discussed, WTO is an international organization that deal with the rules of the trade between members. These rules provide the basic framework for international commerce. Their goal is to help. The goal of this WTO is to help enterprises, including MSMEs, to conduct their business in a rule-based trading environment. And this rule-based trading environment will benefit everybody, including MSMEs. So while WTO does not provide direct assistance to MSMEs, but international trade centers and other international organizations have assistance program for MSMEs. Direct help is not provided, but there are certain programs. The main benefit to the business, including MSME, arising from this system will be agenda. What will be the benefit to exporters of goods and services? First benefit is security of access. In trade in services, countries have made binding commitment not to restrict access to their service market. So when they are a member of WTO, they will not restrict any other country to come into their country for providing services in service market beyond the conditions and limitations specified in their national schedule. Second one is that stability of investment conditions. The secured access to the market enables exporters to make investment and production plan under conditions of greater certainty. So when there is easy access to the market, then you can plan accordingly. So market is available, let me produce more items. I can expect the demand. So that is the stability of investment condition. Stability of access. All countries are required to apply at the border the uniform set of rules elaborated in the various agreements. So stability of access will be there because same rules are to be applied in every country, every border. Now there are certain rights to exporters under WTO system. So right is right to give evidence and defend their interest and indirect right to access. So first right, enterprise has the right to give evidence during anti-dumping and countervailing duty investigations in importing countries in respect of their product and rebut the claims made by the petitioner. So the units have the right to give evidence in the case of during anti-dumping and countervailing duties. So when one country is dumping entire items on other country at a very cheap rate, but if there is some miscalculations and we can produce at lower rate, then we can provide evidence that this dumping is not proper. So steps should be taken against this dumping. indirect right of redress. Exporters may ask their government to initiate bilateral consultations with the government of the importing country, or invoke other provisions of the dispute settlement procedure when they find that their right under the WTO agreement have been violated by the authorities of the importing country. So, in case our units feel that other countries violating the WTO rules regulations, so they can approach the government to initiate bilateral consultations to change the situation. Now, what are the benefits to importers of raw material and other inputs under WTO regime? Basic rules and obligations facilitate importing. This is very important. When there are certain rules and obligations which can facilitate the importing. As importer of raw material and other input, enterprise also benefit as basic rules and obligations facilitate importing, which we have told. So when basic rules are same, then import will be a little easier. The rules requires import to be allotted in without further restrictions upon payment of duties, while countries are also under the obligation to ensure that other national regulations applied at the border conform to the uniform rules laid down by the agreement. So at the border, same type of rules are to be applied. So it will be a little helpful for importers also. The WTO agreement, by creating a rule-based trading system, confers advantages to all enterprises involved in international trade, including MSMEs in WTO. So rules and regulations, if they are same, then it will help everybody, all the industries, including MSMEs. Now, what will be the impact on MSMEs as a producer? If MSME is a producer unit, then what will be the impact? Let us discuss. With import liberalization measure, MSMEs will face greater competition from import. We are producer, then we will have to face the competition from import also. Not only domestic industry, but import also. They will also face cuts in conventional subsidies which are not WTO compatible. In case some government is giving a subsidy which is not compatible to WTO rule, so cuts will be in subsidies will be there. So MSMEs will have to face it. Threat of dumping and counteracting low priced import, especially from China, will be a real challenge for us, because China produces at very low cost, so they can dump their items here. So at that time also we have to see how to face that challenge. Knowledge gap of MSMEs will increase with the digital divide and rapid change in technology. Technology is changing, so if MSMEs also do not keep them updated and they do not update their technology, then knowledge gap will improve and this will also be a challenge. Quality standard gap will also be an issue for MSMEs. So quality of the product is to be ensured. It should be widely accepted and should be matching with the best in the world. Technology gap, faster technology obsolescence will be another issue that MSMEs are already facing. This implies keeping up with technology changes and acquiring technology and know-how at additional overhead cost. So we have to match with the latest technology, but this will require a lot of investment in updating the technology. So what can be different type of schemes can be there, loans can be available, then trainings can be provided. All those things have to be taken care of. Next is loss of protected environment will be a reality, and coping mechanism will have to be devised so as to avoid going bust. Small companies tend to be innovative, flexible, and more responsive, whereas the larger companies have marketing, networking, and financial strength. These strengths need to be brought together. So we have to face this challenge, and we have to combine together. The challenges are how to ensure that MSMEs become a part of the supply and distribution network of large companies. So if the MSMEs can become a part of supply and distribution network of large company, then we can face this challenge. So MSMEs for this purpose will have to ensure number one, acceptable quality. Number two, satisfactory delivery. The WTO agreement, by creating a rule-based trading system, confer advantage to all enterprises involved in international trade, including MSME in WTO member countries. So last para will clarify. The WTO agreements, by creating a rule-based trading system, this is more important for the purpose. Rule-based trading system is there. So it confers the advantages to all enterprises which are involved in international trade. Now, a specific concern with reference to MSME. Now, let us discuss some specific concern which mostly pertain to MSMEs. The MSME perspective is critical to making trading sustainable but is absent from the WTO. WTO is not focusing on MSMEs only; it is focusing on the entire industry. So MSME perspective is not from the WTO angle. So every country has to see how MSMEs can also be a part of their industrial development, because MSMEs are main units which provide the employment. The WTO's focus on market access is too simplistic. What is needed is a comprehensive strategy to building sustainable market in developing countries. Now another point is greater policy capacity is needed in developing countries. This must include the whenever you make the developing countries make the policy, then voice of MSMEs should also take place. So what will happen to MSME? How the policy is going to affect MSME? That is also to be taken care of, and it should recognize the weak negotiation capacity in developing countries' government. The Indian software and service industry turned the recent slowdown into, if you see an example, Indian software and service industry has produced a lot of export for the country. So it has turned the recent slowdown into an opportunity by positioning itself as the ideal outsourcing destination. Why? Because clearly the winners in this competitive environment were those companies that were able to segment the market by predetermined parameters like size, vertical, and geography. And our cost of production for this purpose was very low. Companies who were able to align their offering according to the market demand and establish a brand with attributes that were relevant to the segment emerged successful. This has been particularly true in the case of MSMEs. So these were certain specific concerns with reference to MSMEs. Now, what is the future outlook? The future of India MSME sector in the new global environment will be determined by the scope and effectiveness of the policy interventions. So, what are the policy interventions, policy changes which are helping MSMEs? That will be the main criteria how it will affect the MSMEs. So, reservation has reportedly led to capacity fragmentation and suboptimal production skills in many cases, and reduce export and hence employment. Many key export product for India, such as garment, if you see garment export is can be exploited further. Garment, shoes, and leather product, and potentially key ones like toys. Toys also it is a potential area for export. Were on the reserve list till April 2001. They were on the reserve list that only MSMEs can produce this, or which particular industry can produce these items. This, along with labor rigidity, has been a major export constraint for India and allowed China, for example, to outperform India. Several problems which have faced the sector since the 1950s still persist. Still, there are certain problems which affect the MSMEs. They persist since long. What are those? Access to timely and adequate credit. Though government is taking certain interventions, but still that concerns are there. Access to timely and adequate credit, technology upgradation. For that purpose, also government is taking certain steps which we will discuss afterwards. Infrastructure support and marketing, among many others. So these are several problems which are to be tackled by the policy interventions. Now, MSMEs in India would have to prepare themselves in following to meet the following challenges. Small and medium enterprise occupy a crucial position, as we already know, in the Indian economy, not only because of the contribution to GDP, income, export, and employment, but they also imply group initiative, self-initiative, self-employment, and small livelihood and small business. So, importance of MSMEs cannot be undermined. Policy treatment of small-scale industry as an individual entity is no longer meaningful and beneficial under the WTO is not recognized as small-scale industry as a separate. They are not giving any benefit for them. So they are treating them at par with all industries. It is important to create and ensure space and more opportunity to such a sector, given three things. Because of these three factors, we have to create and ensure some space and create certain opportunities for them. What are those factors? The bogey of unemployment in India. India has got a lot of unemployment, so if we promote MSMEs, then it can be tackled. The structural changes which are expected to come about in salaried and wage employment in the coming years due to disinvestment and private. So government policies to favoring towards privatization, because of which there will be a lot of changes in the labor policies, in salaries and wage employment. So that aspect is also to be taken care of. And third point is the uncertain environment faced by the MSMEs. In today's world, creating and ensuring space for MSME is not that easy, but need to be done. It is not an easy to create and ensuring space and creating opportunities for MSMEs, but it has to be done on a war footing, giving the vulnerability of MSMEs and the economic pressure and uncertainties under which they are performing. Even after that, in any way, we have to create opportunity for MSMEs. Number one, in the uncertainties, which are uncertainties in which they work, MSMEs. Each group and subgroup of industry has different focus of interest in the WTO basket, different tariff level, difference in market access and national treatment, and different non-tariff barriers to face. So every industry has got different type of positioning. For example, the processed food industry will need to adhere to the sanitary and phytosanitary agreement which are under the WTO as compared to the quota faced by the ready-made garment industry. Quota ready-made garment face quota, but they have to adhere to sanitary and phytosanitary agreement. As coalition of interest groups and networking can prove useful for strategic decision making. So if we make the coalition, then we can face this challenge. Such federation coalition of interest groups can be input product sector related and WTO agreement related. So some coalition has to be prepared to face this situation. Number two, tap the domestic market. So MSME has also to tap the domestic market, as it will act as a test bed for innovation and new service lines. Because when you go to domestic market, certain innovation will take place, and your quality of product and cost may come down, quality may improve. So it can be a testing place and help in rapid accumulation of higher value added skills through development low cost tailored solutions for domestic companies and the governments. And skills will also be developed, which will help in future to face the competition or to produce better quality of product at a lower cost. Identify a defensible niche area in nascent verticals such as healthcare, education, transportation, utilities, e-governance, technology area, embedded software. So some areas we can identify and we can focus on that particular area. Ensure a robust business continuity infrastructure and a global delivery network, and build a strong management team to build credibility and differentiation through them. So we have to develop the capacity and skills and strong management team, which will help in robust business continuity infrastructure. Determine initial geography focus and identify critical initial steps. So we have to determine, MSMEs should determine that in which geographical area we can produce the item, and in which area we can sell. And accordingly, the policies and the setup and production should be made. Make clear strategic choice to secure alliance with system integrators and build distinctive customer acquisition and retention skill. So MSMEs have to align with the system integrator and use the data for customer relationship management, and that will help in better marketing. Okay, so these are certain things which can be taken care by MSME. Now, MSME sector face a certain other type of challenges. Lack of support from government department, banks, financial institutions, corporate have been major issue of concern. But government is taking certain initiative, but still they need more focus. Limited capital availability, lack of knowledge, infrastructure and technology. Lack of infrastructure, lack of technology also pose threat to development of the sector. Capital is not available to them easily, and there are a lot of gaps in knowledge, infrastructure, technology. The sector needs high-end research and more penetration in rural area. So some research is required from time to time, and there more penetration in rural area is required, so that employment will also be generated and they can contribute to the GDP. Strengthening of infrastructure in rural India will help MSME sector to record sustainable growth. Although the future may look promising due to manufacturing flexibility, abundance of raw material and cheap labor, there are many other problems that need to be addressed. The sector is still in its incubatory stage of growth, incubating the initial stage. The, the sector is threatened by stiff competition from developing economy and pricing pressure posed due to locational disadvantage. So that is also to be taken care of. Now let us discuss certain initiatives which government has taken for rapid growth of the MSME sector. At present scenario of MSME in India, however, gives a hope for the future. Government is also supporting these industries by loosening their policies and providing them with various subsidies and special economic zones to set up the units. Government is doing this. They are providing a special economic zone, and policy also is being amended from time to time. Increasing competition in private lending has pressurized the banks to give loan to their prime customers, which are small time manufacturers. So banking is also being changed, and their focus is also to provide more loans to MSMEs, because there are certain benefit in granting loan to MSMEs. Microfinancing has become a big success in India. Microfinancing Act has come. There are many NBFCs and other institutions which are providing loans to MSMEs. That is also a good initiative. Major advantage for owners of MSME in the market is that they sell product at low cost and provide credit opportunity to buyers. So this is also advantage of MSMEs. How to support the startup enterprises? What initiatives have been taken? Effort to streamline the procedure for establishing an enterprise are being made. The startup enterprise need an easy credit. Government has taken steps to make it available in different way. Many steps are. There is a need to streamline the process of these formalities, and online window system need to be developed. Similarly, hand-holding support is to be provided for training to such units. So government has provided various training institute where such units, some cluster development can be take place, and training can also be provided by those units. Incubation center will be set up. Incubation centers are technologically training center where all type of industry SMEs are available at a place. They can take training there on the job type of training for technology purpose. This will encourage entrepreneurship across the country. Government plans to operationalize 200 crore fund for technology center network. So for technology upgradation, government is having a fund, and they are starting that, and they are also helping in technological training. Employment generation through MSMEs. This is also different type of job fairs are taken, then different type of trainings are accorded by NI MSME, then Job Mela by NIESBUD, Technical Tech Mart organized by NSIC. So these are all steps taken by the government for improving the skill of the persons and encouraging them uh, through a collaborative uh, steps taken. So employment generation through MSME can take place. Now, skill development for entrepreneurship and enterprise creation, talent mela. So some of the schemes which government has come out, they also help in employment generation. PMEGP, Prime Minister Employment Generation Program, is one of the scheme under which the loans are granted by the bank and persons get the employment in their particular activity. Under Assistant of Training Institutions scheme, 3 national level entrepreneur development institutes like NIESBUD, NIMSME, and IIE, they are providing training to different persons, including in MSME. Now, next is government is a harnessing of demographic dividend. Requires a business-friendly ecosystem that promote entrepreneurship job creation to enable them to become job providers. They want them to provide the job. So some of the schemes are, one is remote, which take care of Koir Udyami Yojana. Koir is a item which is used generally in South India. Many products are being used. Spurti for infrastructure purpose, Border Hill and LW, business incubation centers for livelihood promotion. And there are certain career centers, MSMENaukri.com, training of 10,000. This was the scheme, 10,000 unemployed youth in MSME Samsung Technical School, over 500 unit assisted in the cluster development. So these are the then performance and credit rating system has been started to help the large number of enterprise to upgrade their rating and get concessional rating interest rate. What are the future plans of the government? National portal for registration, it has already started. Job creation through PMAGP, already work is going on. And 15 new technological center for upgrading the technology and training. This is taking the augmenting of existing technology centers. These are the other initiatives. Then future of MSME in India is likely lies in taking full advantage of the removal of restrictions of foreign trade by the government. So main purpose is that take full advantage of the removal of restrictions for foreign trade by the government. These enterprises should keep and exporting and trading with other countries and penetrate the global market. So identify the market where your product can be easily sold. So they can do. So basic purpose is basic. I expect is that there is a need to the MSME to streamline its supply chain network and get into lean production system to reduce cost and time. If it is done, then MSME will be very, for them it will be very helpful. They will be able to survive and contribute. Now, MSMEs also enable new ancillary services. Managing human resource of MSMEs. MSMEs are not having expert persons in to deal with the human resources, so they can combine together and they can hire some expert in that area. So it will improve in improvement. There will be opportunity to ancillary service to provide HRM regarding support to the unit. Then web service to help small firm. These firm now they have to adopt the e-commerce, and for e-commerce solution they have to approach the small firms which provide web services. So ultimately this will MSME development will provide help to these web services firm also. Now what are the areas of intervention? More focused and sustained interventions are needed to prepare the MSME sector for the challenges ahead and to take full advantage of the liberalized trade environment. The size and diversity of our country poses the biggest challenge. The cost profile of that product also varies from region to region. Any product which is being produced, it cost is different at different places. That is a challenge. So this calls for producers to have a meeting of their mind to sort out the issue, and the respective state government to have a common tax and incentive policy. So government can intervene by providing this common tax and incentive policy. Then government can also intervene by providing testing laboratories at the landing point. So these are the two interventions here which government can provide. And then several other interventions that would be effective to improve competitiveness of are as under. One is raising productivity and achieving low cost. High quality efficiency is a must for MSME. So promoting linkage between large and small industries is vital. So here intervention can be provided. Then selective strategies need to be adopted to build on the strength of MSME sector. So identify strategic sectors of proven competitive advantage. So here also government can intervene. Total R&D expenditure in MSME sector is 8.6%. So government can help in providing these R&D facilities, common facilities, develop the clusters and provide these facilities. So government can support and intervene. A detailed study of implication of WTO provision can be made from time to time, and accordingly, whatever suggestions come out, they can be adopted. Subcontracting, exchange, and franchise have tremendous scope. Then government can develop a database. MSMEs have also to be encouraged to take advantage of the portals available for e-commerce. Then simplification of procedure is a long felt need, and there have been several initiatives taken by state with regard to clearances, single window system. So this can be done. It is essential that entrepreneurs are aware of all the important policy interventions. So they should be awareness should be created. Policies should be designed to deal with the subsector specific problems within the MSME. All policies have to be designed like this. Identifying industry exposed to different degrees of risk from international competition based on their competitiveness. It has to be identified. So these type of intervention government is already taking, but they are required. Now what are the product specific issues? In post WTO scenario, a study was conducted by SIDBI in 2002 and which came out with certain suggestions which we will discuss in brief. For toys and game industry, the suggested action plan as per the research is that reduction in the cost of production, focus on mass production, development of design and variety of toys and games, and to attract global toy manufacturing base in India. So these steps are required to be taken by toys and game industry that they can meet the competition. Leather and leather product industry. Government of India has taken several initiatives. What are those initiatives? Leather industry is de-licensed and de-reserved now. Promotion of industrial parks are being done. Funding support for establishing designing studio. Duty-free import of raw material. Duty neutralization. These schemes have been taken. So this support is provided by government. Drugs and pharmaceutical industry. Suggested industry for these will be to focus on one strong item. Tie up with large company. Any MSME can focus on one item, then it can tie up with a large company. Technical assistance for development, product development can take place. Research and development should be done, and then technology upgradation. These are the suggestive strategies. If any MSME takes this, then it can face the challenge. Ready-made garment and textile. And some initiatives which are taken by the government are duty-free entitlement to garment exporter, 24 by 7 custom clearance facility. So these are the initiatives taken by the government to support this industry, ready-made garment and textile industry. Gems and jewelry industry. The main problem facing the industry is high import dependence and lack of long-term sourcing strategy for rough diamond. The government has taken various measures to promote investment and to upgrade the technology. Here also government has taken. For dye stuff industry, as per the report, recommended strategies are to encourage access to finance, newer technology to be adopted, and newer market to be explored, and focus on R&D is also required. So these are some product related challenges and strategies which are to be adopted, and this is based on the research done by SIDBI. Well, friends, this was the last slide, and let us hope that this gives some idea to MSMEs and what is WTO, how WTO will have effect on MSMEs, and what step MSMEs can take to face that particular challenge.